I never expected my 28th birthday to be the day my family betrayed me completely. I stood in the middle of a lavish party that my parents loved to throw, not for celebration but for status. Glittering chandeliers hung overhead, reflecting the golden hues of the marble flooring. The air was thick with laughter, clinking champagne glasses, and whisper conversations. I should have felt happy. Instead, a strange chill crept up my spine, like a predator lurking just outside my line of sight. Then Sophia, my younger sister, stood up. She looked stunning as always. She wore a designer gown that likely cost more than some people's annual salary, diamond earrings, and the smug smile she never left home without. She delicately tapped her champagne flute, her voice ringing through the room. "I have an exciting announcement," she beamed, pausing for dramatic effect. My stomach twisted. "Daddy has given me the most incredible gift," she continued, casting a knowing glance my way. "My sister Olivia's house." For a moment, I thought I misheard. Then the applause, the laughter, the murmurs of congratulations. A wave of heat rushed to my face. My house, the one I had worked years to buy, the one place I built for myself, away from all this. I gripped my champagne flute, so hard my knuckles turned white. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just going to take my house back. I was going to take the entire company. If you asked anyone in our city who the Carter family was, they'd probably smile knowingly and tell you. The luxury empire, the fashion tycoons. To the world, we were perfect, a family of power, wealth, and influence. The owners of Carter Luxe, one of the most prestigious high-end fashion brands in the country. My father, Richard Carter, had started the company from nothing and built it into a billion-dollar empire. My mother, Eleanor, played the perfect role of a high-society wife, hosting charity events, appearing in glossy magazines, and always dressed in the latest Carter Luxe collection. And then there were the two Carter daughters. There was me, Olivia Carter, the responsible one. The daughter had worked since the age of 16 to understand the family business. The one who gave up parties, vacations, and a social life to prove myself to my father. And then there was Sophia Carter, the golden child. The flawless, spoiled, pampered little princess who never lifted a finger yet somehow got everything she wanted. Growing up, it was always the same story. When I was a kid, I would sit at the dinner table eagerly talking about school, my grades, my business ideas. I wanted my father to see me and acknowledge me. "Dad, I got first place in the business competition today," I once told him excitedly. He barely looked up from his phone. "That's good, Olivia." Meanwhile, Sophia would stroll in wearing a tiara from her school play. "Daddy, look. I was the queen today." And just like that, he put his phone down and showered her with praise. "My little princess, you'll be a superstar one day." It was always like this. No matter how hard I worked, I was just Olivia, the worker, the one who handled the serious stuff. Sophia, on the other hand, she was a star, the face of the brand, the one who got all the attention without ever having to earn it. By the time I was 16, I had already started working in Carter Luxe's offices, learning everything from supply chains to financial reports. While other teenagers were at parties, dating, or going on summer trips, I was in business meetings, listening to my father talk about market strategies and luxury trends. "Olivia, you have to understand," he would tell me. "Business requires sacrifices." I believed him. I canceled plans. I skipped vacations. I studied harder. I dedicated everything to the company. Meanwhile, Sophia lived a different life. She never studied business and never attended meetings. Instead, she traveled across Europe on fashion inspiration trips, her vacations paid for by our company. "Sophia is young," my mother would say whenever I protested. "Let her enjoy life. She'll mature eventually." But she never did. By the time we were in our 20s, our roles were fully set. I was the businesswoman, managing multiple stores, working 12-hour days, leading Carter Luxe into new markets. Sophia was the brand ambassador, going to parties, posting on Instagram, and pretending that her extravagant lifestyle was part of her job. I told myself I didn't resent her, but deep down, I did, because no matter how much work I did, no matter how much effort I put in, my father still treated Sophia like the favorite. I thought that maybe if I worked hard enough, he would finally see my worth. I was so wrong. I should have seen it coming. 6 months before my 28th birthday, I started noticing strange things in the company's financial reports. Our marketing budget had ballooned by millions. I knew we hadn't expanded advertising that much, so I started digging. That's when I noticed a pattern. Sophia's trips to Paris, billed under international market research. Her designer shopping sprees, labeled as brand ambassador development. Her 5-star spa retreats, filed under luxury client engagement. At first, I told myself it must have been approved expenses, until I realized the totals. $3 million. That was how much Sophia had spent. And it wasn't company money. It was my money. I still remember the moment I confronted my father about it. "Dad," I said, standing in his office, "did you know Sophia has spent over $3 million of company funds?" He didn't even look surprised. "Of course I know," he said, adjusting his glasses. "I approved it." I froze. "You'd approved it?" He sighed like I was the one being difficult. "Olivia, you run the business. But Sophia is the face of Carter Luxe. Her image is an asset to us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "An asset?" I repeated. "Dad, she's using the company like a personal bank account." "And," he said like it was the most natural thing in the world, "that's how family businesses work. Sophia enjoys life. You do the work. It balances out." That's when it hit me. It didn't matter how much I worked. It didn't matter how much I sacrificed. In my father's eyes, I was just the worker. Sophia was the one who mattered. I walked out of that office furious and betrayed, but still believing that maybe, just maybe, things wouldn't get worse. I had no idea what was coming next. I left my father's office that day feeling like someone had knocked the air out of my lungs. I had spent years, more than a decade, working to prove myself, to earn my place in the family business. And yet, in my father's mind, it was never mine to begin with. Sophia could burn through millions without a second thought, and he would justify it. I told myself it couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. A few weeks after that conversation, Ethan, our financial advisor, walked into my office. "Olivia, we need to talk," he said, closing the door behind him. His voice was too serious. I straightened, setting my pen down. "What's wrong?" Ethan hesitated like he was deciding how much to tell me. Finally, he let out a breath and set a thick folder on my desk. "I've been reviewing financial records for the past 5 years," he said. "And there's something you need to see." I flipped open the folder, my eyes scanning the pages. Sophia's name appeared over and over again. A luxury vacations labeled as brand expansion. Personal shopping sprees are listed as research and development. 5-star resort stays called client outreach. Each expense was neatly categorized to look legitimate, but it wasn't. "She spent over $3 million, Ethan said grimly. A sick feeling curled in my stomach. "I know," I muttered. But then he pulled out another set of papers, ones that sent my world spinning. "It's not just that, Olivia," Ethan continued. "I've also been reviewing property transfers within the company." He flipped to the last page and pointed to a signature at the bottom. My father's signature. My stomach dropped. "Your father is transferring ownership of your house to Sophia," Ethan said. The room spun around me. "What?" I whispered. "They've already drafted the paperwork," he said, his tone cautious. "Technically, you bought the house with your company's salary. They're arguing that it was a corporate gift and can be reassigned." A dull ringing filled my ears. My house. The one I worked years to buy. The one place that was mine. The one thing I had built for myself, away from them. Gone. Given away like some accessory to Sophia. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I had sacrificed everything for this family. My time, my happiness, my youth. And in return, they were stealing from me. Not just money, but the very life I had built. I could hear Sophia's voice in my head, her laughter as she announced, "Daddy gave me Olivia's house." My fists clenched. They expected me to stay quiet, to accept it, to keep working while Sophia spent everything I had earned. No, not this time. I wasn't just going to take my house back. I was going to take everything. The next morning I called Ethan. "I want every single financial record pulled," I told him. "Every transaction. Every unauthorized expense." He nodded. I've already started compiling evidence. I took a breath, then said the words that changed everything. How much control do I have over Carter Lux? Ethan hesitated. You're the CEO, he said carefully. But your father is still the acting president. That's not what I mean, I said. Legally. What rights do I have? He sighed, flipping through his files. Technically, you hold the majority shares. Years ago, your father set it up that way for tax benefits. He never expected you'd use that power. My breath caught. So you're saying, I control the company. If you act fast, yes, Ethan said. You can stop them from taking your house. And you can take the company instead. A slow smile spread across my face. They thought they could steal from me. They thought they could betray me. They thought I would stay silent. They were so wrong. I had spent years playing by their rules. Now it was time to change the game. The next few weeks were spent gathering evidence. Ethan and I worked quietly and strategically. We compiled every document that proved Sophia's financial fraud. We tracked every illegal transfer. We prepared a legal injunction to stop them from taking my house. And most importantly, we built a case strong enough to remove my father as president. This wasn't just about my house anymore. This was about justice. This was about taking back what was rightfully mine. The moment of truth was coming, and it was going to happen on my birthday. The night of my 28th birthday arrived faster than I expected. It was lavish, extravagant, and unnecessarily excessive, just like everything my family did. The Carter estate was draped in golden lights, with servers carrying glasses of champagne and expensive hors d'oeuvres. My parents had gone all out, not for me, of course. No, this wasn't about celebrating me. This was about them. Their status, their power, and most importantly, their favoritism. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, gathering evidence, securing legal backing, setting my plan in motion. Tonight, everything would change. I arrived at the party in a sleek black dress, my expression unreadable. I was calm, but inside, my rage burned like an inferno. I watched as guests laughed and chatted, blissfully unaware of the storm about to hit. And then, right on cue, Sophia tapped her champagne flute. I have an exciting announcement, she said, her voice syrupy sweet, perfectly timed for dramatic effect. The room fell silent. Every pair of eyes turned to her. Sophia beamed, pausing to let the anticipation build. Daddy has given me the most incredible gift, she said, looking straight at me. I clenched my jaw. My sister Olivia's house. Applause. Laughter. Congratulations. I felt my nails dig into my palm. They thought they could steal my home, in front of me on my birthday. I slowly set my champagne flute down and stood up. You're right, Sophia, I said, my voice carrying through the room. She blinked at me, her smug grin still plastered on her face. I am too busy at the office to worry about a house. I reached into my handbag and pulled out a folder. And since we're making announcements tonight, I continued, flipping it open. The murmurs in the room quieted. People shifted in their seats, sensing the change in the atmosphere. I have one of my own. I opened the folder, pulling out the first document. As CEO and majority shareholder of Carter Lux, I have a few important updates. My father's smile disappeared. My mother's face turned pale. Sophia, still oblivious, sipped her drink, waiting for whatever corporate nonsense I was about to spew. Effective immediately, I said, voice cold and professional. All personal expenses will require board approval, not just the president's signature. Sophia's smile faltered. My father straightened in his chair. Second, I continued, a full-scale audit has been launched into the company's finances for the past 5 years. I locked eyes with Sophia. That includes all marketing expenditures related to social media. The room was dead silent. I could feel the tension crackling like electricity. My father's hand tightened on his glass. Olivia, he started, his voice sharp. This isn't the time or place. Isn't it? I shot back. Didn't you just use my birthday party to announce that you were giving my house away? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Board members and business partners exchanged uncertain glances. From the other side of the room, Ethan stood up. He pulled more folders from his briefcase and handed them out to the board members. Inside these folders, I announced, you will find evidence of corporate fund misappropriation totaling more than $3 million. Gasps. Silence. My father turned red, his hand tightening around his glass, so hard I thought it would break. Sophia looked like she had seen a ghost. I took my time flipping through the next page. Here we have luxury marketing research, otherwise known as Sophia's 5-star spa retreat. And this, her brand expansion, which was just a personal shopping spree in Milan. Sophia jumped up, her face burning red. Dad approved all of those, she shouted. I smiled coolly. Yes, I said smoothly, and that's why the board will now be reviewing all of his approvals, including the attempt to steal my house. My father slammed his hand against the table. If you continue down this path, Olivia, you will destroy this family, he snarled. I met his gaze, unwavering. No, Dad, I said calmly. You destroyed this family when you decided that hard work meant nothing and that my sacrifices were worth less than Sophia's selfies. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Sophia's face twisted in rage. You're just jealous, she hissed. You've always been jealous of me. I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Jealous of what? Sophia. That you've never worked a day in your life? That you wasted millions while I was saving this company? That I built something real while you played dress up for Instagram? Sophia lunged forward, her face twisted with rage. Ethan stepped between us. Careful, he warned. Attacking a corporate executive during an official meeting carries serious legal consequences. Sophia froze. She knew he was right. I turned to the board members, my posture strong. As CEO, I am proposing the following immediate measures. The room fell silent. First, all personal expense accounts will be frozen until further notice. Second, an external audit will be conducted on all financial transactions. And third, the executive leadership team will undergo a full restructuring. I folded my arms. Now let's take a vote. For a moment, there was hesitation. Then, one by one, hands started to rise. First one, then another, then several more, until it was unanimous. The board sided with me. My father slumped back in his chair, defeated. My mother clutched his arm, shaking. Sophia looked like she might explode. I had won. I had taken back everything. The vote had been unanimous. The board had sided with me. My father, once the unshakable head of Carter Lux, sat motionless in his chair, his face pale, his hands clenched into fists. My mother's lips quivered, her fingers gripping his arm in silent shock. And Sophia? Sophia looked like she had been slapped in the face with reality. She opened her mouth, eyes wide, lips trembling, but for once in her life, she had nothing to say. I had won. I had taken everything back. The room erupted into hushed whispers. Board members flipped through their folders of evidence, shaking their heads. A few exchanged pointed looks, clearly questioning their faith in my father's leadership. My father suddenly stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. This is a family matter, he growled. I ask all non-family members to leave. Ethan, standing at my side, folded his arms. I'm afraid that's not possible, Mr. Carter, he said smoothly. Since this involves potential corporate fraud, the board members have every right to be here. My father's jaw tightened. He knew it was over. My mother turned to me, her eyes pleading. Olivia, we can fix this privately, she whispered. Let's talk. We don't need to do this in front of everyone. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, now you want privacy? I asked. After you humiliated me in front of all these people by announcing that you were giving my house away? Her lips parted, but no words came. There was nothing left to say. What happened next was even worse than I expected. The audit uncovered that Sophia hadn't spent just $3 million. She had blown through nearly $5 million. A luxury vacations disguised as business trips. Designer shopping is labeled as market research. Extravagant parties passed off as brand engagement. And my parents, they had been quietly siphoning company money for years, funneling it into secret accounts. They had treated Carter Lux like their personal piggy bank, and I had been too busy working to notice. But now everyone knew, and there was no saving them from the consequences. The board voted to strip my father of his role as president. He tried to fight it, of course. He tried to argue, tried to talk his way out of it. But the evidence was undeniable. His power was gone. And for the first time in my life, I was the one in control. Sophia didn't take it well. 2 days after the vote, She stormed into my office, her heels clicking violently against the floor. Her face was red with fury, her fists clenched. "What the hell am I supposed to do now?" she snapped. "You ruined my life." I calmly set down my pen and leaned back in my chair. "There's an entry-level position in the marketing department," I said smoothly. "Starting salary, just like everyone else. You could learn the business from the ground up like I did." Her nostrils flared, her nails digging into the leather of her handbag. "You're awful," she spat. "I hate you." I met her gaze, completely unshaken. "No, Sophia," I said quietly. "I'm the only one who cares about your future." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. For a long time, I wondered if she would ever grow up. I never expected what happened next. At first, Sophia refused to work. She partied, she ranted, and she told anyone who would listen that I had stolen her life. But after a few months, something shifted. She finally caved and took the marketing job. She was awful at first. She showed up late, complained about actually having to do work, and expected special treatment. But here's the thing. For the first time in her life, no one treated her like a princess. She got scolded by her bosses. She had to meet deadlines. She had to earn something. And to her shock, she realized she was good at marketing when she tried. It took 2 years, but eventually she got promoted. And for the first time, she earned it. My parents didn't change overnight. My father fought the board's decision for months. But ultimately, he had no choice but to step down. He avoided me for a long time. But one evening, he walked into my office. He looked older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. "I built this company from nothing," he said quietly. "But you turned it into something better." I didn't respond right away, because for the first time, I saw something in his face I had never seen before. Respect. My mother took longer to come around. But when she saw Sophia working late at her desk, struggling but trying, something shifted in her too. One night, she let out a sigh and muttered, "Maybe we were too soft on her." I didn't say anything. She already knew I had been right all along. Now, 2 years later, Carter Luxe is thriving. Sophia works full-time and has built a real career. My parents have learned to respect the boundaries of business and family. And me? I still live in my house, the one I fought for. It's more than just a place to live. It represents everything I've overcome. It represents my independence, my sacrifices, and the fact that I finally stood up for myself. Looking back, I realized something. Loving your family doesn't mean letting them walk all over you. It doesn't mean giving in. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself for people who don't respect you. Sometimes, setting boundaries is the greatest act of love. I had to step up and make the tough choices, even when it meant disappointing the people I cared about. It wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do. And now, I'm in control. I've built something I'm truly proud of, and I have no regrets. Sometimes you have to shake the family tree so the rotten apples fall, and the strong ones finally have room to grow. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, like the video and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.